Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode for a number of reasons. As you guys know, I love doing these interviews because I love highlighting other entrepreneurs and the journey that they have been on to get to where they are now and how they're serving other people the same way. But second to that, I love interviewing people that are in the coaching and consulting realm to find out more deeply how they're helping people in the way that obviously they helped themselves first. Some of the best coaches are the ones that have gone through a specific journey themselves and have come out better on the other side. And the individual that I have for you today is a podcaster, and she is the owner of Hartmetrics. She does high-level consulting and coaching, leadership coaching, leadership consulting, and career coaching. And why that's important, because no matter where you are in your life or the years that you've spent in business, sometimes people are looking for shifts. They're looking for changes. They're looking to pivot, whether that be within the industry that they're in, pivoting out of that, or maybe even starting something of their own. So we're going to talk about all that and more. So with that being said, Michele Delgado, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you. It's so great to be here, Scott. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So before we get into all the stuff that you're doing now, obviously you have a interesting background. You were in corporate for a number of years and transitioned obviously into your own business practice. What would you say, if asked, what would you say it was the catalytic moment for you after all the years that you spent in corporate, that light bulb moment kind of got turned on and you're like, you know what, I want to kind of pivot, go in a different direction and start coaching and consulting others?
Yeah, great question. So I wish I could say that I was the one who took the bull by the horns and decided, you know what, it's time for me to pivot. I did have a little help by this thing called the pandemic. That kind of made things a little bit more clear, even though it was very cloudy in the very beginning. I realized that I wasn't going to easily segue back into the industry I was in. And so I had to find something else. In January of 2021, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take all the skills, the gifts, and everything that corporate America gave me and start my own consulting and coaching, doing what I love to do.
Now, a lot of people experienced different things in the pandemic, and there are people that have had a lot of positive experiences from that. They've had a lot of negative experiences from that. Now, even though the pandemic kind of shifted you in this way, there was definitely some remnants of, or leftovers, so to speak, from your corporate experience that allowed you to transition easier, but also help people the way that you are. What would you say was the biggest lesson or the biggest asset that you had in your back pocket, being in the corporate world for so long, that you were able to transition a little bit easier to the entrepreneurial and coaching world, as opposed to someone that may not have had that experience?
Yeah, so in my role that I had before, I was a hiring manager for many years. So I did have a lot of people who I mentored, brought along, I helped in developing their careers. And so I think that those skills that I picked up along the way were definitely helpful for me to transition to what I'm doing today. I lived it myself, being in those situations, working hard to, advance myself in my career, getting myself into leadership positions. So those lessons were definitely gifts that I was able to bring along and then share with others today.
So what would you, outside of, the pivot that you made, moving into your own coaching and consulting in the pandemic, what were also some unexpected gifts or positives that came from that experience that now, almost 3 years later, has landed you where you are?
I think that being in an industry that I was in, travel and hospitality, you're in a community within corporate America. You live, breathe, and eat just that career. And so what I have found as the gift in being outside is the fact that I met so many amazing people in so many different careers, so many different industries, and then having different avenues to keep growing. The books that I'm reading, the workshops that I attend, all of the opportunities that are outside of travel and hospitality have been huge gifts, which I would have not had if I stayed in that industry.
It's an interesting thing to think about. What if, right? What
Yeah.
if the pandemic never happened? Everything happens on purpose and for a reason. So as it's happening, you're like, what's the point of this whole thing? What
Right.
do you think for a lot of people that did make the transition with the experience, obviously, in travel and hospitality, you dealt with people, you're a
Mhm.
people person,
Yeah.
and it almost kind of primes you for coaching,
Yeah.
even though you were always a people person, both personally and professionally. What was the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome in being on the other side of business now in entrepreneurship?
Oh, the many hats that you wear. I tell this story frequently. I have a love-hate with social media because it's inevitable. You have to do it, but it's not something that comes natural. So, wearing the marketing hat, the CFO hat, the CEO hat, you're wearing every hat, and you have to think of your business as, from all those angles. So being that person and really growing yourself to be all those different experts, if you will, has got to be the hardest part of being an entrepreneur. But the
I
flip side is you get to make those decisions.
Yeah, you're the captain of your own ship, and you're kind
Right.
of leading yourself. My wife and I really believe that there definitely is an advantageous edge to wearing all of those hats,
Mm-hmm.
because I would much rather, there's two sides to it. I
Yep.
personally would much rather, at some point in the business journey, wear all of those hats so I understand how all of it works and the aspects that, need to be put into place, rather than outsourcing all of those things from the get-go and then having to rely on someone else to do all those things. Good, because God forbid one of those plates that person is balancing drops and you're the one that has to pick up for it and you don't know how to do it. It could really halt your business. So, what we've enjoyed about our journey and how we've grown and scaled, and we've brought on 2 new team members. We have like 12 people now, and it wasn't always like that. It was just us for
Yeah.
the better part of like 2 or 3 years, and it was only in the last couple of years that we've been able to incrementally grow and scale, which is the way that it should be done. But we know how to do all of the back end stuff that now our team handles. So if our team member is sick or out on leave, or they decide to move into a different direction and they don't want to work with us anymore, we know exactly what we need to do, and it's not going to take hours and hours and hours. If we have to step in and do something, we can get it banged out and done. And I think that's another real important thing for entrepreneurs to understand, that it's not always a straight line. There's going to be twists and turns and bumps and bruises along the way, but those lessons that you learned along the way are the things that prime you to then help others do the same thing. And I think, you're a great example of that, because you were kicked out of the nest, so to speak, and you started a new career yourself, and it almost makes you ultra qualified to teach others and those
Yeah.
that you're working with in leadership and career coaching. So what was it about leadership and career coaching that drew you to that? Because, when the pandemic hit, people started doing so many different things in the realm of coaching. What was it about career coaching and consulting and leadership coaching that really drew you to that?
Yeah. So the career coaching kind of was stumbled upon. I mean, as far as the title is concerned, I was always passionate about helping somebody develop within their own role, even if they didn't want to advance, just becoming a better version of themselves, how to navigate, how to turn up the volume in their voice so that they could be heard and they can bring value to a situation. So the career coaching, I kind of stumbled on. The leadership part, I will say one thing that I've always felt is that in corporate America, C-suite and executive leadership have more opportunities for coaching, mentoring, and professional growth. Then you have the frontline folks who they're the worker bees. They're the ones who have to get the job done. They're fulfilling whatever needs to get fulfilled, especially in a service industry like I was in. Travel agents have to know their craft for sure. Then there's that middle management. It's kind of like the center of a sandwich, if you will. That is, they've been promoted possibly from the front line, not quite ready to go to the next level, but they're not really given all the tools and the mentorship and the coaching so that they can advance in their career. And so that's what I really like to focus on, is that group of people who could use additional support to get them to the next level.
So what were some, outside of having to wear all the hats, what of those lessons, what were some, like, what was the biggest lesson that you learned being an entrepreneur that, again, working on that, working through that, has elevated your coaching even more with those that you're working with?
Negotiations, trusting the process. There's a lot of people out there who want your business, who want to say they can promise you the stars, sun, and the moon. And you just have to really dig through those and make sure that it's the right fit. You get a lot of outside, this is what you should do, this is what you should be doing, all of those things. And you have to kind of recognize which volume to turn off and trust your gut, and which volume you turn on and say, yeah, tell me more, I want to learn more, and proceed with that.
So what was the worst piece of advice that you were given or heard when you kind of stepped into this entrepreneurship coaching role that you're now in? Because we're all, it's a very crowded space online, and we see ads and advertisements, and we're fed a bunch of information, and some of it is really good and some of it is not. So what would you say was something that you found to be not very relevant and not very helpful with what you're doing now?
You mentioned something really interesting, that it is very crowded out there. And I think that a lot of people like myself found consulting and coaching as a next step. And so I think, I won't say it's the worst advice, but it's definitely not advice that I find helpful to me, is that the way that lead gen is done, and you have to do this and like follow this specific process and formula, is the way that you're going to land 50, 60 clients and land the deal, and everybody's, rainbows and butterflies and everybody's making millions. To me, that is just in the line of work that I feel I'm doing. That pattern doesn't work for me. I could be wrong, but I don't think it works for me.
No, I think, what I see, because again, part of the strategy of what I teach people is leveraging LinkedIn from a very organic standpoint, building their personal brand, generating leads, booking sales calls, growing their business. And I work with mostly coaches and consultants. And it was interesting. I did a LinkedIn Live the other day about, one of the biggest lies and fallacies that you're seeing in regards to advertising. And there's people that advertise on LinkedIn, oh, I can generate hundreds of leads for you per month.
Yeah.
And I called BS right away. And people were like, well, how is that not possible? It's absolutely not possible. Mm-hmm. And I broke down the number. Facts are friendly. It's something my mom always says to me. Facts are friendly. So the way that I broke this down was, if you're only able to send 100 connection requests per week, which that is the LinkedIn standard, that's it, 100 a week. That's 400 a month. If you look at the numbers, typically 25% of the connections that you send out will get accepted. So it's usually a 75 to 25 not accept to accept rate. So if every 100 connections you're sending, 25% say yes, easy math, that's 25 new connections. They're not leads, they're connections.
Right.
You compound that over a month, that's 100 new connections. Now, where the lead generation part comes in, you have to message these people to book a sales call. So you're telling me that 100 out of 100 people are going to respond yes to your message to book a sales call. And the answer is absolutely no. The typical rate,
100% agree.
the typical rate of return, if you have 25 new connections per week and you message all 25, 1 out of every 5 will say, yes, let's hop on a call. Because that's what I tell people. Book 5 calls a week, 20 calls a month, 20% yes rate, 80% no rate. You're going to close 4 new people a month. That's what I teach people. And I feel bad for people because there are so many great entrepreneurs, great coaches that get roped into these false promises because it's all a marketing tactic. You know, the person doesn't care about the success of your business. They just care about
That's
you
correct.
spending the money.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not the bottom dollar. You know, the money is a side effect from the impact that you have on that person. So I am very straight up and real with people. If they're looking for a quick fix on LinkedIn, if they're looking for that fast money, you've come to the wrong guy. I am the 401k version of LinkedIn. It's that that daily deposit that compounds over time that creates the result that you want.
Right.
And I know that you resonate with that. So what's your message to other people that have been kicked out of the nest, that have repositioned themselves in the coaching and consulting space now? What can you share with them about some of the lessons that you learned that you're now better off on the other side of it, that you don't want them making the same mistakes that you did?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you really have to trust your gut, because like you just said, 100%, doing all those connections is not going to work. It's just not, in that space of lead gen. For me, what has worked is patience, building a rapport and a relationship, finding out what is important to them. And sometimes you have to just know that maybe now is not the right time to do business with that person, but doesn't mean that you can't keep connecting as a fellow colleague, a fellow LinkedIn family person. I connected with somebody months ago. They responded to a post I had. It wasn't the right fit for us to do business. We parted friendly and amicable, but I don't know what opportunities will come down the road from this one person, or who he knows, or whatever. So for me, it's just keeping yourself fresh in their mind. I just sent a friendly happy Thanksgiving, a little laughter in that. And that has helped in building other pieces of business and securing other pieces of business. And me just being myself, having a friendly conversation, you just never know.
And it's about leaving people better, whether they're a good fit or not. It's, again, you don't want that negative reputation, or you don't want to be all about the money or trying to close the sale, because it's not about that. It's about how you leave people better. And that's what people remember. And that's why your name will come out of more people's mouths if you leave people better that way.
Absolutely. I do a lot of, 30-minute strategy sessions for people to, explore what's right. And how I position it is, let's see if we're a right fit for one another, because there's no reason. Yeah, I would love to have the business, but I don't know if you're the right fit for me, or if I have the right credentials or what you're looking for. So giving them that opportunity to make a choice, as opposed to, here's my services, here's what I charge, boom, like that. One thing I learned also was that instead of calling it fees and things like that, it's, if people want to invest in change, invest in skilling up, invest in their future. So calling it an investment as opposed to fees has been a nice shift for me as well.
Could not agree more. When you start looking at it as an expense, You're never going to treat it the way that it should be treated. Investments, again, are compounded things over time that create more. And it doesn't even have to be money. It could just be the clarity that someone is looking
Right.
for to move in the path that they really want to move in. My other question I had for you is, if someone were to say, Michele, what makes you special or more unique than other career and leadership coaches, what would you say to that answer?
I've lived in some of that frustration that some leaders have. I've been in frontline, I've been in middle management. I have found my voice to negotiate for myself, and I've done the work to improve my skills so that I could be recognized and promoted up. But at the same token, I know what it's like to lower the volume, lose my voice. I know that during the pandemic, when I was first furloughed and then laid off, I lost my voice. I didn't advocate for myself. It was like, where did it go? So I've been on both sides, and I know what that feels like. So I think that for me, I've lived it, I've experienced it, and I've also done the hard work to advance myself.
Love that.
The second thing I would say is that I am more about the well-being of that person even after the work. So even if I have a commitment with you for 60 days, 90 days, or whatever, I just had a follow-up phone call with a client of mine from a while ago just to see how he's doing. How's everything with him and his family? I do care about the person's well-being beyond the work that we do together. So I call it, post check-in, 60 days, 90 days. If things aren't working out, let's talk about it. And it's not about, oh, let me send you another invoice. It's, we had a working relationship. Let's see how we can make it even better for you.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's asking questions to get answers, to see what it is that we can do. And I love something that you said before, is that, really spending the time getting to know the person that you're talking to see if it is or is not a good fit, because you shouldn't want to work with everyone. It's just how it goes. You want to work with the right people. So as we wind down, Michele, if someone was interested in hearing more about your leadership coaching and consulting, what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you, and how can they connect with you online and offline?
Oh, great. So I have a website. It's hartmetrics.com, HARTMETRICS. I am active on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me there. And I do offer 30-minute free strategy sessions just to explore, what are the opportunities and options that they're looking for. On my website, I do have a career page that kind of outlines things. I do some workshop, which are also outlined on the website. So those are the two main areas that you can reach me. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, but I don't really spend too much time there. Again, my love-hate with social media, but LinkedIn I'm pretty active on as well.
Awesome. So for anyone that's listening, all the information that Michele shared will be in the show notes and the description of the episode, so you're not going to have to look too far for that info. So Michele, final question before we sign off today: what does success truly mean to you?
For me right now, it's different than what it was 3 years ago. For me, it's a balance of inner circle and having them be healthy and having happiness and finding joy. And for myself, I'm no longer chasing that, oh, got to have this, got to have the big job, got to have that. It's more about my family and a balance of everything together. So not one more important than the other. They have to be equally important to me. And my family is number one.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And, life is short. And I think when you realize how short life really is, you start treating it much, much differently. So,
oh, yes, absolutely.
Completely agree with that. Michele, just wanted to thank you again so much for being here today and sharing all your wisdom and all the value that you brought to this episode, and looking forward to the audience digging into this. And obviously those that resonated would love for them to connect with you, and just grateful for you and your connection and for coming on the show today.
Well, I am grateful to you, Scott, for inviting me. Thank you so much. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you so much. So everyone, as always, wherever you're listening to and from, please leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most about the episode. And if you do have some episode ideas or topic ideas, don't forget to reach out to us, because we want to deliver the best and most high value content for all the needs that you have. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.